Welcome to a story set in the heart of the Victorian era, an era often remembered for its elegance, technological advances, and apparent prosperity. Imagine gas-lit streets, sumptuous gowns, and the dawn of a modern world. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel if you are passionate about these historical topics and leave a like on the video. Now let's start. Imagine dressing up in a metal structure so large it could block an entire door. A fashion that is, instead of just dictating trends, marked destinies. Between elegance and tragedy, an accessory transformed into a symbol of status and a death trap. At the height of the Victorian era, between 1840 and 1870, women's appearance was shaped not only by taste, but by rigid social demands. Dressing up was an act of class, honor, and curiously, sacrifice. It was in this context that the crinoline was born, an accessory that would change not only the silhouette of women, but, unfortunately, also their destinies. Originally made of horsehair sewn onto linen, the crinoline quickly evolved into a lightweight yet durable metal hoop construction. In 1856, the invention was officially patented by W.S. Thomson, beginning mass production. The new garment promised to free women from the suffocating layers of petticoats, creating the desired volume with lightness. It was immediately adopted by the nobility and, thanks to industrialization, also reached the middle and working classes. The loose silhouette it gave was a symbol of virtue, modesty, and fertility. In the streets of London, Paris, and even Boston, crowds of women proudly paraded their billowing and majestic dresses. But beneath the silk and velvet was a high price to pay. The crinoline transformed the simplest activities into challenges. Entering carriages, passing through doors, sitting gracefully required skill. And yet, this veritable cage of fashion became an object of desire, a walking throne as majestic as it was treacherous. Over time, the crinoline went from a symbol of elegance to an icon of tragedy. The more it became popular, the more accidents occurred, and they weren't just falls. The metal structure that supported the fabric easily turned into a fire trap. At the slightest contact with open fires, fireplaces, candles, or oil lamps. In the 1850s, newspapers began reporting alarming news. In just 6 weeks, the New York Times recorded 19 deaths of women whose crinolines caught fire. They couldn't escape the flames because the width of their skirts prevented them from moving quickly. They died in a few seconds, wrapped in a ball of fire, fueled by flammable fabrics, such as tulle and light cotton. The tragedy of the Wild Sisters, who burned to death while playing near a fireplace, also shocked the aristocracy. Another emblematic case was the fire in the Church of the Compañía in Santiago, Chile, in 1863. Over 2,000 people died, also because the crinolines hindered the evacuation. Trapped in the benches, they blocked the passages and became death traps. Besides the fire, there were the dangers of the road. Women dragged by carriage wheels, caught in gates, or lifted by the wind like human sails. All in the name of aesthetics. And despite the horrors, many continued to choose the crinoline, because in Victorian society, looking respectable was more urgent than being safe. As the crinoline spread through the streets, salons, and churches of the 19th century, not everyone was happy with it. The exaggeration of fashion attracted attention not only for its volume, but also for the risks and absurdities it entailed. The famous nurse and social reformer, Florence Nightingale, was among the first public voices to condemn the garment. In letters and articles, she called the crinoline a ridiculous and deadly disguise, wondering how many more women would have to die before the fashion was abandoned. Even the satirical press did not spare criticism. Newspapers such as London's Punch published biting cartoons, women carried away by the wind, blocking entrances or hiding children, and lovers under their skirts. Some illustrations show surreal scenes of women caught indoors or sweeping up everything in their path like walking furniture. But not all criticism came from outside. Some women began to use crinoline strategically. By creating a physical barrier around the body, they prevented unwanted male approaches, ironically becoming a shield of privacy in times of extreme moralism. Others used it to hide pregnancies, transport objects, or, according to rumors of the time, smuggle prohibited letters, bottles, and books. Thus, the crinoline oscillated between oppression and rebellion. It was both cage and armor. And in this contradiction, it revealed the silent conflict between social control and female resistance. As the years went by, the crinoline began to lose ground in fashion. In the 1870s, the tournure bustle was born. Structures that gave volume only in the back of the skirt, offering a new, less cumbersome silhouette. The change reflected not only a new aesthetic, but also a response to criticism and dangers associated with the crinoline. In addition, dress reform movements, led by women who wanted more practical and healthy clothing, gained strength. They promoted the abandonment of garments such as the crinoline and the corset, favoring clothes that allowed greater freedom of movement and less risk to health. Thus, the crinoline, which for decades had symbolized status and femininity, was gradually replaced by fashions that prioritized comfort and functionality. His legacy, however, remains as a reminder of the excesses to which society can go in the name of beauty and tradition. The history of the crinoline shows us with extraordinary clarity how fashion is never just a question of aesthetics, but also a profound reflection of the values, limits, and contradictions of an era. What today may seem like a simple clothing accessory, a folkloristic detail of the past, was in reality a powerful social symbol of status, of femininity, of conformism, but also of oppression, danger, and resistance. Behind the fine fabrics and metal structures lay a reality of silent sacrifice. Victorian women walked a tightrope between the ideal of perfection and the constant threat of tragedy, accepting extreme discomfort in order to respect the rigid gender conventions imposed by society. Yet many also knew how to turn that same fashion to their advantage, using it as protection, a space of autonomy, and even a means of silent protest. That's all for today. And what do you think about crinolina? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. See you next time. Bye.